Hi, I'm Kathy Phillips from Wells Fargo. We're going to do a little tag teaming on different parts of it to kind of keep you awake and alive at the end of this conference, and I'm very glad to see all of you still here, not heading home yet. So I have with me also on the Enterprise Search Services team, Tom Lutmer, and then Brian Rasmussen. We pulled him along to help do some of the slides. He was also helped develop some of this code that we're going to show too. So. This is our Wells Fargo slide. So just real quick, what we're going to go through, basically what we do, who we are, a little bit of the architecture, the types of search applications that we have, so beyond just your basic enterprise simple search, and then delve into each one of those and some lessons learned and how it added value within our corporation. So a little bit of background about us. ESS stands for Enterprise Search Services. That's the name of our team. We actually used to be called Search Community of Excellence. So we kind of really do both. So we do consulting and we help do search applications across our entire domain. This kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. I'm not going to go through all of this, but as you can see, we have a lot of different websites, lots of different domains, lots of different types of content. So some of the search business value for Wells Fargo. The blue circle here, we call it Enterprise Search Scope Search. What I mean by that, this is your traditional enterprise search. It goes out and just crawls everything. We start at like a point and we get everything out there. We have sites. We carve off pieces of that and we call that site search or site-specific search. Some of that content is contained within that big circle, and some of it is not. So hence some of those are sitting on a little bit in and out. And then the ones that are sitting outside are just within our intranet, but are not even searchable from within our enterprise search. So these are completely separate search applications. There's different types of search applications that we're moving into. So when we started out doing search, like about 6 years ago now, that we took over Enterprise Scope Search, we had basically the enterprise search, the big, one box to find it all, and then we had a customer impact sort of that moved into a business intelligence type of an application. That was it. Enterprise search was about 75% of our traffic. Over the years, that's actually changed, and so now we're finding more and more different types of search applications, and it's actually only about 25% of our traffic, and you're seeing all the other types of search applications are increasing. Some of them, they don't really even look like maybe your traditional search. They're kind of really embedded within the application itself. And so that's one of the questions somebody had asked me, and we were talking earlier today, is why don't we just all fit into enterprise search? Is because the context isn't there, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So enterprise search is the typical one that you have your simple keyword search, and so is site specific. So those are your your simple kind of keyword search facets and the usual stuff. The customer impact is something that's very timely. It's usually customer support, very specific to an application. Business analysis, you're actually doing more business analysis. You're kind of diving deeper, a lot of structured content moving into that, and same for the business intelligence. So a little bit about our search architecture. So this is our search architecture that we have at Wells Fargo. Just so you know, a little bit of a caveat, we are a very large company, about 265,000 regular team members. If you had contractors and everything, it's over 300,000 at Wells Fargo. And we have just about every kind of search technology you can think of somewhere at Wells Fargo. And we, and internally we have Microsoft Fast ESP, as you can see on the slide, has been the solution that we've been using. You've probably been in other presentations and know that that's a product that's going away and no longer supported as of this year. So we're in the process of migrating over most of it to Solar and LucidWorks. Within our search architecture, you can see at the top, everything in blue is outside of our sphere. So this is the internet, the websites, and also web interfaces that that our customers create themselves. You can see we also host our own. So for those who don't want to create their own search interface, we create one for them and we host it on our own. So the yellow and the gold is all parts of our own architecture that we control. The gold pieces are the pieces that are commercial products or something that we bought somewhere else. And everything else within the light beige is all the parts that we've developed internally. So we have a enterprise search web services layer. Brian can talk a little bit about it in just a few minutes here. This is our web layer that kind of abstracts what we're doing for search from our search engine. It also provides security and also helps with some manageability pieces of it. It's an internal service, so we're able to switch people on this from one search engine to another. So those who are already using our enterprise web services, who are on Fast ESP, we literally just say, okay, now go and use Solar. The next second they're using Solar, returning results they actually don't even know that we switched, hardly. We manage our best bets, and we also do our metrics. We have boosts within there, autocomplete. We manage it all through this layer. At the very bottom layer, we also do custom connectors, as well as use ones that are provided to us. Take questions at the end. I'm happy to come back to this. All right, so this is our search services admin interface. And I think you were going to, yeah. And I'm going to let Brian take over this piece of it. This is part of the web services layer.
All right, thank you. This is kind of the interface that was designed in response to the previous slide where we needed to migrate, we're in the process of migrating from FAST and being able to support multiple different back-end indexing systems. So right now this one can support Google, Solar, and FAST. And this is kind of an external piece here that actually rides above the organic search results that we normally return. So this is best bets. This is manually controlled, so people can come in and actually select their own best bets. There's 3 different statuses: include, exclude, and candidate. Candidates are pulled basically from our own metrics, so they rise to the top based on frequency. And I believe there's a couple time frames for frequency: 90 days, 30 days, a week, and 24 hours. So it's kind of a combination. We kind of help the client actually develop their own list through frequency. So they can kind of do a little bit of both, but they really do want a lot of control over what they have in their best bets. And this seemed to work really well because we can actually control what comes in on those top 3 results. And there's also ability to do multiple, where you can actually have embedded, so like you can have one result with a lot of different sub-results within it. And this is, let's see, how do you change the next slide? Is it okay? This kind of elaborates on that piece that I mentioned before, where you can actually choose which type of engine you want to put in here. I mean, the UI is a little bit primitive, but it kind of gets what it needs done. You can actually put in some basic things, like if you want to change out the query handler, you can add a couple custom query parameters and things of that nature. So it makes it really easy to rapidly prototype back where we were hosting sites, because we have several, like hundreds of sites that people just want to get up real easily and quickly. So we can put up a site in less than 5 minutes and just have them start using it right away. And then we can elaborate on it and get the relevancy a little bit better. And they can also work with creating their own best bets and everything of that nature. Let's see, this is the actual view management. So this is kind of going a little bit more into the actual view. We can actually segregate out views. And in this case, we can actually define which actual navigators we want. So like if there's a collection that 2 people are using, and one wants to use navigators, another does not want to use a certain navigator, which it's the same as a facet. I use navigators that's similar to what FAST was using. But you can actually select which ones you want in there as well. And you can also select through, on the query manager on the far right, you can actually select, you can see we have a lot of Solar and FAST ones in there. you can easily select and change between where you're getting the results from instantly, and it's in real time. So if it just continues to run, you can instantly switch to another engine whenever you like. And there's a couple other controls in here. These are specific to ours, but you can override the boost, the autocomplete, which I think that's the next slide is the autocomplete. And that will actually, you can override those immediately. So if you want to use a different list, you can do that. Oh, I guess we didn't do the autocomplete. Okay.
So a little bit, just I kind of briefed over what we're doing with our search applications. So we have approximately 10 different types of custom search applications that we manage within Wells Fargo. And of each one of those custom types, we provide multiple instances of them, sometimes up to 100 different instances of each of those different types. Didn't really break each one of those out because there's a lot of different ones that we go into, but I wanted to talk at a high level some of these and some of the things that we talked about, so that we've come into and some techniques. The enterprise scope applications, your typical intranet keyword search. Basic, it goes through, and this is sort of like your kind of, I don't know where the business value behind this is. I don't know where I'm searching. I have no idea where everything is at. It's got everything. It's got at least a link to everywhere, to the search applications everywhere. Some of the challenges, of course, is just getting access to it. Half the relevancy problems are just the fact that we don't even have the content in there yet, and we have to find out where the content is and get it in there. Poor inconsistent quality and so forth. So one of the techniques that we did at our enterprise levels, we actually stopped crawling everything as a default enterprise search. So we actually didn't crawl everything anymore. We actually crawled only what we consider commodity content. So you have commodity searches and you have long tail searches. So we actually have two different enterprise search applications. So the default for everybody is the commodity search. The commodity search goes through, and actually we have a list of all of our home pages, every single login, every single basic home page that we have, and then we only crawl those pages and then links from those pages. Those are guaranteed to be certified. People are looking at them. They want to be found. They're the high-level content. Then there's certain sites that we do crawl the entire bit. So we crawl everything, full crawl content, typically HR content that's everybody wants. And then we also have some pages that we do have to recreate. We bring all that in together, and that's the index. So for majority of people, this is all they want. They want to look at 401ks. They want to find out what the PTO is, for the calendars. They want to find that login page. They want to find the home page, and that's majority of the time that works. There is a secondary one, a full deep one, but that's sort of for the long tail searches. It's not the default one, and people have to go kind of know how to get to it. You were going to talk about this.
There we go. Okay. I usually don't get the mic very often in my band. I'm the drummer, and they say that I have a pitch problem, so I don't know. But don't worry, I won't start singing, at least not yet. So anyway, so this internet versus intranet search results. This is an interesting chart. And I think worthy of putting in here, because if anyone also has problems with intranet search, you often get this question, well, it's like Google, right? I go to Google, I get all the results I want, and they're perfect, and it's always relevant. Well, you can bring up this kind of chart and talk about, well, but the difference is that number one, you have curators over in Google land and whatnot, but the people actually want to get found on the internet. On the intranet, they could really pretty much care less. And depending on what we're crawling, like for SharePoint repositories, those kinds of things, SharePoint has become kind of the new network file system, and so everybody just dumps stuff onto SharePoint. So again, they really don't care if you ever find it or not, for the most part. So this is a helpful slide to have at your fingertips. One other thing about our content, I'll just note, Wells Fargo has our stagecoach, and it's got the horses, right? Well, I've been thinking about it during the time of the conference, when those horses, how much content we've got. Those horses, I think they're nice in uniform color on the brand, right? and this is where the Wells Fargo brand police hopefully aren't going to barge in on me, but the way our content is, we've got like a Palomino, we've got a Pinto, we've got a Clydesdale, and there's probably a goat or two on there too, instead of those horses. So it's really just all over the place in terms of what kind of content we have. And again, it speaks to this notion that you just never know what you're going to get on those keyword searches with that stuff. So, crawling challenges. Kathy's got this down. Its own way.
So we have a lot of crawling challenges. This kind of gets into some of the challenges that we have, and I'll get into some of the things that we do to help work around that. We obviously are mixing high quality content with low quality content. That's never a good thing within a search, because then you're kind of completely inconsistent. You tune it for the high quality content, the low quality content's gone, and vice versa. So this is that never ending kind of challenge with that. We have a lot of duplicates. We're missing content. The crawl rates we have, we actually get a lot of people who complain about us crawling them, and we're only hitting them once every couple seconds, and that's still too fast. And so we have to lower our crawl rates. Different kinds of authentication. We have lots of issues with robots and so forth. So one of the things that we're doing is actually post-processing and scripting. And actually, I didn't put on here one of the other options we have. So Eric's in here, and he's the one that helped write this, and so I won't take credit for this at all. But this is an add-on that we put on to LucidWorks to help us with processing the content. So we found that we only have to massage the content before it goes in to crawling. We also have to massage the content after it comes out. And so we're actually doing both. This is the after we get through content. And we do this also in our FAST as well. We have a post-processing pipeline, for those of you who are familiar with FAST ESP. And so the scripting goes through, and we have to do all kinds of different things. We're doing metadata augmentation, we're doing transformation, content removal, and changing out the content. We also are learning that we have to do things before it even gets into the crawler, and we're starting to use proxy servers. We're looking into using that now as well, so we can actually modify the HTML content before it even gets to the crawler as well. So we're kind of having to do challenges on both ends to make up for it.
It's me again. Yes. So this is actually an application that Brian developed, and we want to put this in here for a couple of reasons. But so when we talk about site-specific search, so there are hundreds of sites across Wells Fargo that run our search service, and of course those sites want to get content that is only for them. And so what this does, this is a handy little form. They can fill out these variables, and at the end of the process, they can use it to generate the code, launch it, and then they can actually just do a copy paste and stick it right in their site. And so this makes it really easy for them to draw on our large index, the big one, but only filter down to what it is exactly that their particular site wants to use. So it's really a nice productivity aid for those particular sites. It gets us out of the business of having to field, dozens of calls a day. Build this site, get it working for me, kind of thing. We can point them out to this. They can generate the code, put it right in their site, and away they go. So definitely a really big productivity aid. And here we have an example of just kind of how that works. Again, they went out to that form beforehand. They generated the code. They said, I want everything that's only in this particular domain. They go in, put in their search box. They put it in, and then they end up getting our general site search results page down in the bottom. I'm sorry, what? Oh yeah, and this one, yeah, good point, thanks. On this one, the search all of now, so what they did there was they said, okay, I want to search just the now domain. And then within that, they said, well, I want the forms that were in with now domain. So going back to this particular form, then what they could do is come in here and say, okay, well, what I want to search, the site to search at, here's my criteria. And I can get it down to just very specific parts of that domain. and then create what ends up being a filter, but yet it's going against the really large Wells Fargo index. So works out really well. Okay. Who's this?
So we talked about some of the simple keyword search applications. This is then going into the customer impact application. So this also has internet search, but it's very targeted to a customer support, some type of a contextual search. So we start getting into things that are custom interfaces. We can't just use the site search form anymore. So these are applications that typically have very rigid requirements around them. They often have security. Performance is a really big deal because you don't want people waiting on your customers. If you call up Wells Fargo, you want the answer right away. You don't want to wait for search. So here's some of the architecture around the security that we've had some challenges with it. Some do not have any internal security, so the websites can be all or nothing. Like we can just say you get into the application once you're in, you get complete access to everything, or you don't. Or we have the authentication where you match ACL at query time. And then the content at the bottom may or may not access it. We also do not provide direct access to Solar in any of these applications. We go through our web service to provide additional security layer. So we've locked that completely down. It only has access through our web service. So that's the other security piece of it. Let's see. Yep. So we're going to look at one of the business analysis applications that we have. This is a specialty search solution with a deeper analysis. So this is some of the, a very custom one that's actually built straight on Lucene. So this is actually built outside of our general architecture. And I think, so this is our customer aggregation. I'll talk. One of us will talk about it. So basically, this is our customer aggregation. And it's built straight on Lucene. We could have done this in Solar. It was actually our first one. So this is our first project that we had with Lucene and Solar. Kind of sold us on the whole piece. We actually looked at originally, tried to do it with other search applications, found it was not easy to do, and we found it was very easy to do. And Lucene decided this is a good thing. So in this particular application, we're actually going out and aggregating like customers. So in the case, you can type in a WFC and get back Wells Fargo, and any variations of Wells Fargo businesses. Or you can type it in wrong and type Wells Fargo. So what we're doing is we're looking at all of our customers across the entire corporation. We get feeds in from all the lines of business, and then we're trying to aggregate and normalize those. So this is an application that's built into another application. So it's an actually embedded part of this. We just copied out just the pieces that are sort of search related, but it's completely embedded into their application. They don't know that this is really a separate search. They just think it's part of their app. It uses different types of phonetic libraries, and we actually have 2 indexes. So it does a query against a synonym index to expand that to actually do the query against the actual index that has the customer names in it that we get updated. Be happy to talk about that some more later too. All right, the business intelligence. Here we go.
So this is one of our latest, I'll call it a POC that we're doing for our business banking group. And it's interesting because when they first came to us, they wanted an application where they could search how they write up business deals, and the business impact being, if I can go out and find how someone else wrote up a particular business deal for a medical field, then I've got a template and I can do this faster and I can book business faster. So that sounded like a really great business proposition. And but as we got into it further and further, the senior management, our business banking, took a look at that and said, well, look, you've got FICO scores, you know what annual sales are, those kinds of things. You know what, why don't you turn this into a referral system? So what we're going into this next phase is we're saying, okay, so now we've got all this structured data. We know all this about our customers. So now let's go ahead and use a search application to go in and let them find particular business opportunities based on whatever their key criteria are. And so, we've just got some sliders built in for now, but you can see, so I can up the gross annual sales. I can mess around with the FICO, and just like on travel sites, results come in and go depending on what you're doing with the sliding. And then, again, these facets just go in and do what facets do, what everybody's used to them doing. But, saying, well, I wanted something in Peoria, and I want, FICO scores greater than 750, and I want gross annual sales, 20 million plus. And so here's a great example of where internally we're taking search that an application like this actually already sort of exists within their business banking group, but it's built on just SQL tables. And of course, the problem with all the SQL tables is, as the end user, you kind of have to know the data, or you got to fuss around and say, well, just give me this and this, and you really have to dig into it. And all the beauty of search is right in here in front of them. They can just type in whatever they want to do to start, and then just start to drill in and get the facets and get it to work. So we're really excited about this particular application. We think this is where we're really going to start to go with a lot of our future work. So, oh yes, and then we've also got one that we can't show you. Otherwise, we'd have to we'd have to debrief you all afterwards. Yeah, something like that, kill you all. I don't know. Which is our fraud detection, the anti-money laundering, and so. Here's a situation again where we've got really large structured databases. I think, Brian, we've got something like 15 million records, something like that. And this is a case where the analyst can go in, they can put in key criteria, names, dollar amounts, locations, key phrases, that kind of thing. And it'll go out, find common occurrences of it, give them particular facets that, again, lets them drill into, okay, well, they said, okay, it was New York City, and now we can say, okay, well, where in New York City? What particular branches did this occur at? What were the dollar amounts? What were the names involved? And they can use that to help build their cases. And of course, those all go off to the Fed at some point. But that actually was one of our very first search applications we ever built, and still running today. And we actually just converted them, what was it, March of this year, from FAST into LucidWorks. So, and Brian is very much the reason for that occurring. So, it's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and a little note on the fraud. It is one of the applications. It combines a variety of different structured data sources. So it's not just one database. It's pulling from several different databases and unstructured content too. So it's merging all that together. So it's another reason why they could not do it easily in a single database either. So where are we headed? So we got some list of places with that we're headed. We're looking more into social tags. Some of the things with click-through, we're working a lot. There's a lot of metrics. We're going to do a lot with metrics this year. So that's one of the things, going back to the business value, that we're going to show. With metrics really makes a big difference. I didn't show any of that on here, but we've been using the metrics from all these new applications as they're coming along. How much usage are they getting? What kind of return on investment is it getting? And then as we add more into click-throughs and things like that, we're going to be able to show even more value from those different types of search applications and who's using them and why. Looking more into some semantics, some big data proofs of concepts into this year. We're seeing a lot of these, the trends that we're seeing is more towards these embedded search applications, particularly in some of the last couple of slides that you saw in there. Those seem to be the highest interest that we have internally for growth and new applications within the company, which is very interesting. Currently, in fact, we can't even keep up. We're not even actively marketing or looking for them. They're just coming and finding us. So I guess we made ourselves easy to find, so it's a good thing. I think we are ready for questions. So we don't have, unfortunately, any books, so just to let you know. They ran out. Yeah, so you have a question in the back. How many fast implementations? We have one fast, and it's got 4 clusters on it, and we're in the process of migrating. We have, like I said, 10 different custom apps. So when we do one custom app, the rest of them are just instances, so we basically migrate them as a whole. We actually only have one of those migrated over because we ended up adding 2 new ones on before that. We didn't make sense for us to put them on a fast and then move them. So we end up just spearheading those first and then added the one on, and now we're planning on doing the rest they all have to be off by 3rd quarter of this year. Is our timeline. So we're in the midst of doing that. We've got quite a few going on in May and June and so forth. Okay, so the question was, how do you handle compliance whenever you bring on new applications, and what do you do with very old data? Is that pretty much right? Large old data sets. Well, the compliance is handled by the lines of business. So the lines of business kind of set the standards on how do we want to go about complying, and we work with them for testing and provide recommendations for that. So, and they own the data. So we don't own the data, we just provide methods to get access to it. So they own the data, so to speak. So they're responsible for that. How we get, it's up to them. And so we just work with our lines of business partner on how they want to handle no data. We do put freshness in, typically as part of the relevancy, so that kind of helps to drop down really old data down further. A large data set, so, yeah, that takes a long time. Yes. So we've been. It's an interesting challenge. We're in the middle of that right now. The ones that we have migrated are smaller data sets. We're working on the very large one right now, and we'll be able to tell you a little bit more in about another month, because we're bringing it all in right at the moment. So we're going to be able to tell you more. Now we do have. And I guess I'm not sure if it's large unstructured content, I'm assuming, versus large structured. It's because there's 2. Yes, so the question is on performance. And that's a really good question. How do you handle performance, especially with the self-service? So the self-service, the content is already there. So we allow them just to search across content that's already there. So we don't have to worry, at least from a performance, of getting the content in. So it's just the total number of hits or queries increasing against that site. We just monitor it. We create an overcapacity, so we have plenty of room for performance as far as number of hits going. So we have not hit even a limit or near a limit on that yet. So that has not been a problem. Just as a note, though, our site search has overtaken our enterprise search or is either very close and is overtaken in the last couple of months in total number of queries over our enterprise search. So just that self-service. It is something we do have to you kind of have to watch if you do want to do that kind of stuff. You expect at least a double or more of what you have for your enterprise. Yeah. So the question was, when you switch from one search app from like say Fast ESP to Solar to Google or whatever, we end up from one application to another. The result sets will be different. How do you handle that? We do a lot of testing prior to doing the switch. Obviously, it's not just done because it'd be fun to do. You do this with a lot of testing and relevancy. So we have a whole relevancy testing that we go through prior to that. It's actually pretty hard once we get through and ensuring that a lot of our content, and some of these connectors are exactly the same. So we actually are feeding some of these connectors. We're feeding to Solar and to Fast DSP at the same time. So it's exactly the same content. Some of them are not. Some of them are crawlers that are separate. But we do go through and ensure that the top commodity searches, the long tail searches, we do check all of that ahead of time. Some of them I can't even tell. We've switched over, and actually I couldn't tell which one I was on. Other ones you could tell because the date formats are a lot nicer in Solar than in Fast. ESP had the weird bucket thing going on. So the ones that choose to have the dates format show up, then I could tell. Okay, thank you.